Sammy, what was the biggest learning experience that you had in the FFA, and how did that help you with your future?
I will say when I was in high school, a typical senior, thought I was big stuff. And so, thought I was going to kill this speech and rolled around and, didn't do as well as I thought I was going to do. So that was probably my biggest learning experience.
Welcome to this edition of the Hoel Truth Podcast. Today, special guest is Sami DeLey. She is one of the local FFA chapter advisors. So I'll give you a minute to just introduce yourself real quick.
All right, my name is Sami DeLey. My students know me as Miss DeLey. I am in my second year of teaching agricultural education, and with that, I am also the FFA advisor at Rushville Consolidated High School.
So, you technically, how is that working now? Mr. Orme retired. Then I know, I believe it's Miss Wagner. Sorry if I butchered that, but she took a job the same time that he was retiring, and so last year, Mr. Orme actually reached out to me. I knew him because he was my district FFA advisor when I was in high school. Not from Rushville originally, but graduated from Shenandoah. So one of my friends threw my name out there. He got in contact with me. I was set up to take his position. Can't replace him, obviously. Legend. And Miss Wagner left shortly before school started, which took a great opportunity with Indiana FFA. But kind of left things a little uncertain because we had just added a third teacher to the program as well. So Carly Yeager was going to go between the middle school and the high school. I was the only one full-time at the high school. And we did that for all of first semester. And then Carly Yeager moved over to the high school with me, and Jessica Roberts was hired as the middle school teacher. So now we are 7th grade through 12th grade, and we are a 3-teacher program. So how many classes can the junior high kids take then?
1.
Okay.
Yep, so they take one semester class when they're in 7th grade, and then they're able to take a full year of ag their 8th grade year.
Okay. So what does that look like? Because it's been a few years since I've been there. There was no junior high FFA, no ag classes. So what kind of opportunities do the junior high kids have now?
Yeah, so we are still navigating how to intertwine. Sometimes it's difficult to have 7th grade students with our seniors.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're kind of trying to figure out what events are, appropriate for them to come to. We have SOAR conference coming up, which is a leadership conference at the Indiana FFA Leadership Center that we're opening up to middle schoolers. I believe a few of them are going to be able to go to National FFA Convention with us at the end of October. Just little things here and there. We did our chapter kickoff at Mahoney Valley. They were able to come there. Everybody had a great time. Still trying to navigate that, but trying to give them as many opportunities as we can.
So how many kiddos do you have from 7th to 12th grade in the Rushville FFA chapter?
We have about 150
Awesome.
FFA members.
Awesome. That is awesome, because I remember when 40 or 50 or 60 was a lot.
Yes.
So go ahead, and I can't believe I'm letting somebody from Shenandoah
I know.
in my podcast. How the hell Rushville would hire that? No, I'm joking. Just, kind of tell your FFA story, because me and my wife, we were just chatting a couple hours ago because I knew this podcast was coming up, and I was talking about some of my FFA stories, So kind of tell us kind of how you got into teaching ag, because what a lot of people don't understand, and Mr. Orme, I love that guy to pieces, respect him.
Same.
That guy, I talk a lot about legacy around here and what do you want your legacy, but that guy's legacy is his legacy is inside this building, this company. If it wasn't for some of the stuff he did while I was in high school, this company may not exist. So and I'm just one person, and he had thousands, if not 10,000 kids that he affected their life. So I guess tell your FFA story.
Yeah. So I
started doing FFA when I was in 8th grade. So it was offered at Shenandoah. Kind of got approached by one of the teachers, like, hey, you should really take the class. I didn't want to take any of the other electives, so I decided to give it a shot. Loved it. I really grew in parliamentary procedure, a lot of the speaking contests. Just really kind of grew into who I was meant to be. People, I know it sounds cheesy, but people, yes. And so did FFA all through high school, held chapter offices, held district offices. And then I actually applied to Ball State University. I wanted to be a broadcast journalist. But I decided that I wanted to run for Indiana FFA state office. And so I did that, and I was selected to run. Awesome. In 2018, 2019, I was state president. So great experience, great year. Learned a lot about myself, about leadership, and also got to be in the classroom a lot. Mm-hmm. So then instead of, I deferred my year from Ball State because we have to take a gap year. I decided to reapply to Purdue University because I couldn't give up the agriculture side of things. Applied, it got accepted. I started ag communication as my major. Thought maybe I wanted to be a teacher, so I switched to ag education for about a year. Then I realized that I didn't want to be a teacher, so I switched back to ag communication. Graduated with my Bachelor of Science from the College of Ag, and my first job post-grad was not in communication and was not in education. It was in ag sales. So I worked for Corteva AgriScience on the Pioneer Seed side in their Associate Territory Manager program. So they kind of send you wherever your first year is, kind of a training year to teach you how to sell, how to manage people that sell. And so they shipped me up to Sartell, Minnesota, which is around the St. Cloud area. It's a little north of the cities. And so I did that for a year. Struggled, obviously, at first. It's hard to move away. It's hard post-grad. Ended up enjoying it okay, but realized that sales might not be for me. And it was about that time when Mr. Orme reached out to me, and I had talked to my managers there, and they were super supportive of the, transition into education that I was thinking about. Let me travel home to interview and kind of see if it was the right fit. I told Mr. Orme that I would only do it if it felt right.
Right.
Because I make a lot less money now than I did doing that job, but I do feel a lot more fulfilled doing this job. So, yeah, that's kind of how I got into FFA and teaching.
So one thing that I talk a lot about, and I hire people every day, and I deal with people, and, I did livestock judging when I was in FFA, and what a lot of people don't understand is I had to judge livestock, but then I had to stand in front of somebody and tell them the reason why I judged them the way I did, why I put which one I thought was the best first, and why I put which one I thought the worst was last. Little did I know, I started this when I was in 3rd grade. Little did I know, I was speaking to the guy who owned the freaking livestock or the cattle or the pigs, but you know how many people, you see it in your world, but there's still so many people that can't even look you in the eye and speak to you. And then they walk in here for an interview, or they send a text message, they can't call you, it's holy cow, this sounds minor, but I make my kids order their own food when we got to eat. They're 6, 8, and 10. And my 6-year-old's the baby. Everybody spoke for her for the first 3.5 years of her life. So sometimes you can't totally understand her. And somebody said the other day, they're like, oh my gosh, your kids, I couldn't believe, the lady at Culver's is what it was. We pretty much should own Culver's. We don't, but we're there all the time. But just to build that speaking skill set, is so lost. So, to me, that's what a lot of people don't understand. To do that kind of stuff, it just, it truly helps them absolutely everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say I teach the freshmen at Rushville. And, we're still towards the beginning of the year. And I remember last year I taught my group of freshmen, and to see where they started to where they ended, giving presentations in front of the classroom, having a good PowerPoint, not reading off their PowerPoint the entire time. Those are skills that they need to know, but they haven't been taught or they haven't practiced. A lot of kids are scared to stand up and talk in front of the class. We're doing parliamentary procedure in our principals class right now. I do a small unit in there right before Parli season. And some of the kids are scared to stand up and debate, but once they do it, you know, they get more comfortable. There's a fun motion on the board that they're like, oh yeah, I want to talk about this one. And so it's really cool to see the kids like get into it and really step outside of their comfort zone. So
I want to circle back to something that you said earlier when you said you wanted to make sure it felt right. So how did you know that coming back to teach at Rushville felt right for you? Because, I mean, like I just said, the impact Mr. Orme's had on me and so many lives, like, you know, I hate to say this, but there's some teachers that just do it for the paycheck. I know you're not one of them. You know, we say mail it in, but like the teachers like Mr. Orme that could never be paid what he's worth. Like there's not enough money out there for the amount of hours that you guys put in, you know, not just in the school day, but the after hours, the weekends. Like I look back running a business and know the things that my kids and wife do without sometimes with not me being around. Holy cow, like that's another level when it comes to being a teacher.
Yeah.
Or and an FFA advisor.
I would say, you know, I was leaving a really good paying job, and one that, you know, all the bells and whistles, you know, the company truck, the paying for your Wi-Fi, all of that stuff, all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad I realized young that it's not about the stuff and it's not about the money. Sometimes it's about being happy in your personal life. And I'm so much more happier now. I get, like I said, get paid a lot less, but I know that I'm making an impact on these kids, whether I realize it or not. You know, even kids from last year that I don't have this year will come in and, you know, be like, Miss DeLey, I miss you. And that, you know, that means something. I also, you know, coming from Shenandoah, Rushville was our biggest rival. I knew they had a solid program when it came to FFA, and that's my wheelhouse. You know, I'd never taught before. I would hope that I would like it, and I really do. But I love the extra stuff. You know, the practices can be long, and, you know, the after-school stuff is painful sometimes, for sure. But I know that these kids are raised in, you know, farm-based community. Mm-hmm. And there's just some really good kids that walk through those doors at the ag building. And so, like, that's what sold it for me is, you know, I met some of the kids before I even interviewed or the day I interviewed, and it just felt like it was where I needed to be. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, because like I said, that's, to me, the older I get, the more I appreciate people and their profession that they enjoy. Like a lot of us around here work with a nurse practitioner that she nerds out on like what she knows, blood work and that kind of stuff. And like to the average person, it's like, oh my God, she may be obsessed. However, like there's as a country, we've seen the lose like doing stuff with excellence. Just, I mean, I've got a banking issue between right now that I'm trying to deal with between my bank, QuickBooks, and the bank the money went to. And the bank that the money went to, they're like, we can't do anything. It's like, how is their money floating in your digital database, whatever, that you can't do anything about? You know what I mean? So it's like it's cool to be around. Like I said, no matter if it's, you know, I enjoy the transformation of a home when we get to do work on it. Like I didn't grow up thinking I was going to be a roofer. No idea. I'm not a roofer. I'm a business owner, you know, and some people may try to use that against me sometimes, you know, well, you're not a roofer. Well, you're right. You know, you don't really want a roofer running a roofing company, but that's just my opinion. So like at the end of the day, it's, you know, Adam behind the mic right now, or behind the camera, I guess technically we're behind the mic. He enjoys like the videos. He geeks out on the tech stuff, you know, like that's his wheelhouse, you know? So to me, the older I get, the more I appreciate that. So, other advisor, Miss Yeager, now she is a local homegrown kid, correct? Mm-hmm. And you guys started practically at the same time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, exact same time.
Okay.
Yep.
So how was that transition?
Yeah, from 2 seasoned ag teachers to 2 brand new ones that are young. And so Carly, she had 1 year of teaching experience under her belt. She taught up north and had an opportunity to come home with a new position opening up, and so she took it. And Carly and I knew of each other before we started teaching, but we really didn't know each other. And so we talk about it now and laugh about it, but like it was nerve-wracking for both of us, both being same age, basically. Being two teachers running a successful ag program, big shoes to fill, a lot to live up to. I would say like first semester, our first year, we were a train wreck, like just point blank period. And to be honest, like it sucked. It sucked being the one to come in after two legends, and I would tell Mr. Orme that too, and he knows that. But I will say he's done a really good job transitioning us. He still has a part-time role at the high school and only speaks highly about the two of us in the program. So that made it easier. But yeah, I would say, it was hard. But now this year it just feels like we've got our feet under us so much better. We've been through a year. We know when things need to be done now. Whereas like last year we were just figuring out as we went. And that's all we could do is do our best. And, we're still doing that, but we're a little better at it this year.
Yeah, I mean, I learn stuff every day in business, like, and you make mistakes, and, I always say, I don't really say fail, I say we learn. Yep. There may have been a deadline that you missed. However, as long as you learn from it, kind of push forward. So did you grow up with an ag background at all?
No.
Okay.
I didn't.
So see, that's the one thing that I think a lot of, everybody thinks FFA is Future Farmers of America. I'll let you go ahead and correct that here in a second. But that's what a lot of people don't understand is it's more of a leadership organization, and there's nothing wrong with the ag background. There's nothing wrong with them values, in my opinion, because we're losing them as a country. And I was talking to a vendor that I work with, and they live out in the East Coast. And he's like, oh yeah. He's like, I'd love to bring my kids out, and we've got 26 acres and 20 some cows. And, we have a farm compared to them, they think we have a big farm, for what they're used to. But just talking about how we need more kids raised with these values, or at a minimum, or around the farm, or at a minimum with these values.
Yeah. I did not grow up on a farm, and I make sure that I, let my kids know that, because they'll say, I'm not a farmer, or I don't have cows or whatever, and I'm like, that doesn't matter. And kind of tell them my story a little bit, and they ask me, how did I get into teaching this then? And it goes back to passion. I became passionate about FFA a long time ago, and now I get to teach kids, which is awesome. I would say the main thing that FFA taught me is resilience, and I have had to practice that a lot over the years, especially in the last couple. And so just, some kids don't want to try, and, I always say, they'll be like, I can't do this. Can't never did nothing. That's usually what I say. That's very incorrect grammar, but that's always what I say to them. And so I just think, getting that leadership experience, getting them talking in front of people, even getting them to meet people that are from an ag background and, get involved in a supervised agricultural experience. I didn't come from an ag background, had a home and community development SAE. So there's ways around it, and there's ways that you can impact the community. It's not about cows, sows, and plows anymore. It's about leadership. It's about, being a good speaker, but also at the end of the day, being a good person.
Right. Well, and, you're going to have to help me on some of these, because it's been a few years, but a couple years ago, the FFA Center called and it's like, hey, we need new gutters. We researched you guys. We know the owner was an FFA. Okay. So we go out there, and my sales rep calls me. My sales reps are all straight commission. So they make a sale, they make money. They don't make a sale, they don't make money. And Chris is newer working for me. First kid on the way. So he quits a I don't want to say salary job, but an hourly job to come and sell for me. And like the third day he walks in my office, he's like, hey, Lexi's pregnant. And I'm like, and like, if you ever met Chris, like he just tells you his whole story instantly. Like there's no shield up, you know? And I'm like, what'd you just say? And I was like, what do you think? He's like, let's go, you know? And I was like, well, I'm going to be honest with you, bud. Like this will make or break you. And now he's my sales manager. That was 3.5 years ago. So, you know, pretty cool story there. That's awesome. But, you know, it's just, he calls me up. He's like, hey, they need gutters. He goes, they don't have the budget for it. So he's like, tell me as cheap as we can sell this. Don't pay me commission. So I was like, okay. So I said, send the guy's phone number over to me. And he's like, I called him. I was like, so where are we at here? He goes, we're going to have to get an estimate. We're going to decide which buildings we think is the worst. We're going to ask you for an estimate. And then we're going to collect the money, fundraise the money. And then we're going to come back and do it. I was like, all right, don't worry about it. Send me over the color. We'll take care of it. He's like, what's that mean? I was like, send me over what color you want. We'll take care of it. So I called a gutter sub of mine and I said, hey, Ray, I want you to go help me. I said, I'll pay you and your laborers help. I said, I'm buying all the material. I'm using my trailer, my machine. I said, we're going to do this job as a give back. And he was like, okay. He didn't even bill me, didn't even charge me for him and his laborer's time, you know, and the entire company, marketing, tech, sales, production, like we all went out there, and I even took my kids out of school that day. I was like, this is more important to see, like, and there was a couple of state FFA officers, Mary Jones, the one that comes up, like still stays in touch. Like my girls still talk about Mary, like, you know, so like just to be around that, you know. But so we had some shirts made with Hoel Roofing and Indiana FFA together. And the motto is, what is the FFA motto? Because now I'm going to butcher it. Where
I should know it because I just had to have my kids just knew it. Learning to do, doing to learn, earning to live, living to serve.
Right.
Is the FFA motto.
Yeah. So living to serve, like, you know, you see all that stuff as a teenager and you don't really think much of it, you know. But now that I own a business, I have a family, like living to serve, like, and my son still wears that shirt around the house like all the time. So like that, the stuff that the FFA actually stands for. And, you know, I've even, we actually did a roof on a house in Speedway during National Convention, and there was a group of kids staying there. And the guy that we were doing the job for was like, I've never been around a more polite group of kids. He's like, I can't believe, he goes, I think he said he stopped and checked in while they were gone, like the second day. And he's like, I couldn't believe how, he's like, I expected the house to be a freaking mess. And he's like, you know, so I've heard other people say when they're up in Indy, is National Convention still in Indy?
Yep.
Okay. I was like, wait a second. I may be far enough removed from it. I may sound like an idiot, but where people say it's the nicest group of kids, you know, most polite, most respectful kids, you know, and what is there, 40,000 kids that go? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 60,000 now.
Okay, 60.
Yeah, something like that.
So, I mean, 60,000 kids, high school kids in downtown Indy, you know. So what are you guys excited about? What's new?
Well, we just hosted our first Rushville FFA tractor pull.
Yeah.
Last weekend, 2 weekends, I can't even, time is non-existent. But huge success.
Awesome.
We had about 115 entries for the poll. Sled ended up breaking like at the end of our last class, so like around 90 people polled that day, which is awesome. We did free will donations, you know, free admission. Sold some food there, and we just got a lot of really, really nice feedback on that. So that was a new event that we have never done before, and kind of brings in a different crowd in that, like, the boys were the ones that were in charge of organizing the event. which I'm sure they learned a lot. I know they learned a lot because, when they first came to me and Miss Yeager and said, we want to do this tractor pull, and I say, have you thought about this? Have you thought about this, sign-ups? Who's doing it? No, we haven't thought about that. Well, think about that and come back to me, and, we'll let you know if we can pull this off. And by golly, they did, and it was super successful. So, and people had a really good time. So that was awesome. National convention is coming up, which is always exciting. Addie Horn is competing in national creed speaking, so she is our one that is competing this year. What else is coming up? Parli's coming up, which I'm excited about. We've got a livestock skillathon team. We've got crops entomology and forestry. We do all the contests, I feel like, if we can find a coach to coach. So yeah, there's just a lot of things that are, we're looking forward to a lot of things.
Do you have a soils judging team?
Yes, we do.
Awesome.
Soils judging. This year, Rushville has the District 9 president, Kate Newman, and we also have the Section 3 director, Gentry Wallace. So, that's exciting. We've got students from Rushville holding leadership positions and doing a really good job.
So, the section director, that is a high school. That's still a high school position per se. Yep. So how is that different from the district?
Yeah, so there's 12 districts in Indiana. We're in District 9. So Kate's the District 9 president, and then Districts 7, 8, and 9 are a section. Okay. So there's 4 sections. And so Gentry will be in charge of the section parliamentary procedure contest. And then sometimes they choose to do another event. Last year, I think it fell through, but she's going to see if we can do something fun. They called it Southern Region Bash. So do a fun activity for sections 3 and 4. And then this year too, Gentry's been really diving into facilitation. So in classrooms, she's actually out today of school facilitating at different schools in District 7. And so she's been in the classroom at different schools, basically preaching about agriculture and FFA and doing fun activities to get them excited about it.
She's a sharp kid. We did an interview with her. So actually, Ellie that works for us, she used to work for her dad.
Okay.
So she was working for him before she came over here. Yes. So she's a good kid. That doesn't surprise me. So what was hilarious was when you brought up that the tractor pull. So the boys kind of had it. So what percent is boys is an FFA compared to girls now?
I couldn't tell you the exact percent, but I want to say it's probably around 70-30.
Yeah.
70
girls.
Female,
yep.
30 male.
Yep.
I could be way off, but right. I feel like that's about what we have at Rushville.
Yeah.
And I know that's across the board too with FFA across the nation. So. And
I get it. Girls are more mature, so because if you look at the leadership team, back when I was in FFA, it was still 50-50 with the leadership team, boy, girls, male, female. And then, now it's kind of, I always look, I'm like, oh, hey, they got a boy on there, So, it's cool to see the boys get excited about something. Because I think we can agree when boys are in high school, you've got to give them something they're excited about.
Yes.
And a tractor pull is going to get them excited. A lot of other stuff is not going to get them excited.
Exactly.
So, but it's just the pushing them to do that because, like you said, they learned a lot on what are they going to do about emissions, what are they going to do about advertising. I know they thought, oh, well, this
where we get the money.
There's a pool.
We got to rent things. Yep.
Yeah. So no, that's that's pretty cool because it's funny to see a non-farm advisor be okay with the tractor pull. Yeah, I mean,
that's the first tractor pull I'd ever been to.
Right.
So I learned throughout it. There were a couple of things that, you just learn to roll with the punches and not get too stressed out about things. I naturally just get stressed really easily. And, it's just once it's over, it's oh, that wasn't that bad,
right.
But yeah, those kids, the boys, completely exceeded my expectations with the event. So super proud of them.
Yep. So what was that? Is that going back to the general fund for the FFA? What's that?
Yep. So the money that we raised will go back to the general fund, and then we use that to pay for kids to have opportunities. One thing about Rushville is we allow the kids to participate in a lot of activities for free or for a very reduced price. They pay for their membership, which is $25, and that helps cover their their dues for district, state, national, and then pays for their T-shirt. And then this year, Farm Bureau sponsored a portion of the FFA jackets. So if students got their FFA jackets, they only had to pay $20 instead of $65-$70.
Awesome.
So like I said, we sent Gentry and Kate to a conference for free, and then I know you said that you would sponsor the students going to SOAR. So it's kind of just like I'm also learning who to reach out to, and I've kind of got my foot in the door with some people in Rushville, and I've just tried to make the connections that I need to make sure that I'm giving those kids the opportunities that they deserve. And yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean, what a lot of people don't know is the nice facility that we have in Trafalgar at the Indiana FFA Center. I think is what it's called. Like, because, I've talked to other FFA people from other states, and, I think Indiana is only one of a very few that have the officer team, because, I mean, they commit to a year of living there and living for the Indiana FFA. There's no jobs. There's no going to college part-time.
It is your job.
Yeah. And just think of that's like going to getting a master's degree probably in some kind of leadership, with the amount of you have to go to different schools, you have to talk, especially when it's FFA week and you kids are running, flat ragged. So, I mean, to me, that's cool to see. That's what a lot of people don't understand. It's like anybody that can come to me and talk about FFA, they've been part of it, it's like, okay, wow. If I ever get the opportunity to hire an FFA state officer, I know they're I think you guys are you got to drink Kool-Aid that you'll go to Purdue and that kind of stuff,
I think that's kind of what pulled me a little bit. Most of my teammates were going to Purdue. I revisited the campus, and I was like, okay. So
and I understand.
And it all happens for a reason. I wouldn't be here, and if I didn't start in it, which is so crazy to think about, that the way my path through FFA has gone led me to where I'm at, and the connections that I have made.
Well, and what a lot of people I mean, I get it. I see the natural progression of going to Purdue, studying ag, to come back and literally serve to what has done so much for you. That crew or that officer team we got pretty close with when we did that job, or we did that give back that day. I know one of the boys went to Kentucky for welding. And so they honestly spread out more than a lot of them, I think, because I've noticed sometimes they all go to Purdue, so, it's just, like I said, I've said that, that's the kind of people that I want to hire, so people that know how to communicate, like you said, a lot of people don't understand is the amount of speaking engagements and stuff that the opportunity is, with the FFA. So what is your I used to ask this question, what was your biggest failure? But while in FFA, what was your biggest learning? I won't call it a failure, but what was your biggest learning experience in the FFA?
While I was in FFA as a member?
Yeah.
Okay. I
it's probably still pretty open wound from last year, so we won't ask that as a visor.
No, everything. I would say while I was in FFA, I had the year prior, it was my senior year. So my junior year, I won district for public speaking. I got third at state for public speaking, and so my senior year, I was just I'm bringing home the hardware this year. And so I'm competing in a couple contests at the district level, at district contests, and public speaking is one of them. And I really did not spend the time that I should have memorizing my speech. And I'm a procrastinator at heart. And so I was just like, you know what, I'll be fine, you know, kept pushing it back. And then finally when I got to it, it seemed to have been too late. Thought I had it in the bag. I walked into the contest room, and I think I got 3 paragraphs into my speech, and then I just like completely blanked. Like I could not remember what was next. And so I like resaid the entire 3rd paragraph that I had said before. And then I literally just told the judges that like I forgot my speech, and they were like, okay. And I really wanted to walk out of the room. Like I really wanted to just walk out, but I stood there in my discomfort and, you know, still shook their hands when I walked out. I think I placed like dead last at district. And so that was a, you know, wake up call, just to be like, you know, I'm not all that in a bag of chips, because you know, high school, you think you are. And that was just very humbling, and, you know, taught me that I needed to put the work in if I wanted to see the results. So, and that's what I did when I prepped for state office after that. So that was probably my biggest, you know, learning experience. Yeah.
I was hoping you were going to say, I was 2nd place and Rushville won.
Nope, not that year. Actually, one of my best friends is from Rushville. That's kind of how I got this job. So, yep. Hannah McGee, Hannah Fusner.
Yep.
Now she got married, Hannah Rail. So,
awesome.
Yeah, so she's the one who reached out to me about it. And it's what I tell kids, too. It's all about, like, who you know sometimes and networking. You know, I would have never got the job post-grad if I wouldn't have met the people in FFA that I met. Or I would never had landed this job if I didn't make those connections and relationships, you know, growing up. So,
well, and another thing that I think it's really hard for kids to understand is like how you treat somebody, how you come into a job interview, how you leave that job when you work for somebody. Like people talk, you know, like you said earlier, resilience. Like there's so many people, I don't like this job, so they bounce over here for $1 more an hour. Then they bounce over here. Well, then the next thing you know, you look up, it's like, okay, nobody wants to hire that person, because like I had a good buddy, loved the kid to death. I watched him bounce around, and he goes, why don't you hire me? I said, because I'd had to be looking for your replacement the day I hired you. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, I've seen you do this. You need to go get in a truck and drive a truck, because that's what you want to do. Finally, he called me one day. He's like, hey, I bought a truck. I'm going to go drive a truck. He's probably been doing that for 3 years now. Like, that's what he was meant to do. Like, and I guess that's one thing, like, you know, it's pretty cool to hear that Corteva Pioneer told you, like, supported you, because, like, we've all had to be in a spot where we've been supportive on something like that. Like, my sales manager that trained me in this business he trained me at one company. I went to another company. He liked me well enough, if he's watching this. I had him sit down to do a podcast, that he came over and was my manager at the second company. But then when it was time for me to go start my own, like, he supported me. And he sends a lot of business our way, because he knows the kind of person that I am. And like, that's one thing I just wish kids could really understand, like, what you do now, how you act, especially with social media and freaking videos, and everybody's got a phone in their hand. I mean, thank God when I was a kid, I mean, the video quality, it wasn't like it is today, you know? So, as we wrap up, you know, I just want to continue to say thank you for what the investment that you girls are putting back in the FFA, because like it's huge. Like, and there's so many kids that you're impacting, and I know you're young, and I know, you know, you're trying to figure out life. Hell, I'm almost 40 and I'm still trying to figure out life. So don't feel bad, you know? But like, I think I text you and Miss Yeager like early on, like, hey, just want to reach out. I'm here. I'll support you guys. Like, I'm the Rushville FFA biggest fan, like, you know, or the FFA in general. Like, you know, yes, Rushville's near and dear to my heart, you know, but like that's what legacy, you know, is about. And you're impacting kids already that, you know, one of them's going to be crazy enough to start a company in the hometown that nobody said, you know, you can't do that, you know? So thank you for your time. If you want to leave us with any inspiring words, I'll let you wrap it up.
I would just say, I love my job here in Rushville. I don't know if I could have said it first semester last year, but this year I'm really finding my groove, and the people in this community are just unmatched, which is awesome. And I would just say to always stay resilient, because you never know what's on the horizon.